Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Cold Steel Mini Tuff Lite. I don't know why it was so hard to get my hands on one of these. This knife was sent to me by Kenneth. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for sending this in. I will point out that these can be difficult to get a hold of right now. I will link it down below in any case, and I will also link the bigger brother that's really not that much bigger of a knife, right? It looks like it's a lot bigger, but you know, in comparison with your hands, it's still a small knife, and these are definitely available. So I'll link them both. They're both gonna be recommendable knives, right? I know a lot of you guys like to watch my videos all the way through. I'm gonna tell you why I like this so much, but just to make sure that anybody who's interested has options, this is all linked right down below. Thank you so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. You can find a link for that down below as well, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. These are not expensive, by the way. Very, very inexpensive. Overall length of the Mini Tuff Lite coming in at 5 inches. Blade length coming in at 2 inches, which is great for people who are limited by the laws in their area. And the cutting edge is coming in at a little more than 1 1/4. I want you guys to know that this has serrations. This version of it has serrations. They come in a plain edge, much like the larger Tuff Lite you saw. They also come in serrated, so you can get this version in a plain edge, right? It's not like you're limited just to serrations. That's just what this one is. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and its little brother, the Ontario Rat Model 2. All right, so there you go. It's small. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Again, pretty small. Now, something I want you guys to take note of here, especially up against these Spydercos, is take a look at the finger lines here, right? We all know the Spyderco PM2's got way too big of a handle, right? You can move around a little bit. Spyderco Para 3 fits really well back here in the choked back position, but in the choked up position, you'll see that I've got quite a bit of excess handle sticking out of the back. That's the situation with this guy. Your blade to handle ratio on this guy is what most people would say is not good, but you know, if you've got a task that doesn't require more than this blade length, but you really want to choke up on it, you can absolutely get a full 4-finger grip on this guy. This is to date the smallest knife that I've ever handled that you can actually get a full grip on. So something to keep in mind for people who don't care as much about ratios. I'm one of those people. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian Ritter Hogue and its little brother, the Mini Griptilian? So there you go. I think it's well established. This is a small knife, right? Let's go ahead and talk about carry profile. Get this guy folded up here. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, it's about the same. And that's fine. You can get a full, I mean, this thing does fill the hand. It does an amazing job of, while being small and light, it does an amazing job of actually feeling durable and capable, which is usually something you don't get with such a small knife, right? So I don't really care that it's about as thick as the Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3, which were zoomed up quite a ways. Might be kind of hard to get everything in frame here, but there you go. It's still shorter, PM2 and Para 3. It's not going to be as tall or anything like that. So not short, short and not tall. It's also going to be lightweight because we are looking at these solid injection mold plastic scales. Most of the integrity is going to come from the triad lock. Yes, this is using the triad lock. I don't think it needs to be any more than this. In fact, the knife that I have beat, I should do the size comparison with the full size, like an actual size comparison here so you guys know. So there you go. I have never beat on a knife harder than my full-size Tuff Lite. And this is still a small knife. Just to give you an example, right, of these two up against a Spyderco Para 3. There you go. They're both definitely smaller than the Para 3. I have beat, this guy's still wearing the battle damage. I just haven't cleaned it off. I have really beat on these things, and they are not expensive, right? They're not using anywhere close to premium materials, but if you're wondering, are these things durable? Holy cow, they are definitely durable. So, solid injection mold plastic scales with no liners, and you're talking about most of the integrity coming from the triad lock. Yeah, speaking from experience, you don't have anything to worry about unless you're putting the tip of this thing in a vise and beating on it with a sledgehammer. Don't do that. But that's a situation where it might not hold up. Let's see here. Hardware check. Get out my tools. Very recommendable. I'm still looking for a dedicated link for that stuff, but it's the WIA bit selector and WIA stubby magnetic driver. So, pivot is a T8. The rest of these screws are T6. I don't need to check them. Pocket clip screws are T6. It's not going to be difficult to take apart. In fact, I've taken mine apart multiple times. It's not hard. Just be careful with those T6 screws. Make sure you've got quality tools and you'll be good to go. Blade stock thickness on this guy. Where are the calipers? There they are. Blade stock thickness is coming in at not very thick at all, 90 thousandths. So that's kind of what you'd expect. Weight, I'm going to guess this weighs about 1.5 to 1.75 ounces. Let's find out. There you go. Yeah, about 1.5 ounces. No big deal. This is going to be an easy object to carry. It doesn't really matter if you're wearing athletic shorts, cargo shorts, you're wearing jeans, work pants, whatever. This will work just fine. You want it to be your 5th pocket knife, right? Go ahead. You want to put it in the right rear pocket like I usually do with a smaller backup knife? Go ahead. Dedicated EDC knife or backup knife, right? As long as you're wearing pants, this will probably work really well for you. I don't have a problem with any of that. This guy's been well loved, which in some cases causes an issue for review, and in some cases it actually provides more information for review. This thing is held up amazingly well considering, I mean, you can see in here. We've got dirt and debris. Let me get the flashlight out here real quick so you guys can see. We've got dirt and debris and stuff building up in there. I think that's just in many cases, in this case, it's going to provide a better example of how well these knives hold up. They're just really great. Action, so one of the problems I have with the triad lock is one-hand manipulation because there's not always a spot. This one's a little bit tight up here, but there's not always a spot for the blade to fall down onto your index finger and safely allow you to safely move it out of the way when you close the knife. A lot of times when the blade length comes down to here, which would create for better ratios, right? Maximizing that cutting edge for the overall length and weight of the knife, it doesn't make for a safe disengagement on a cold steel knife or one that's using a back lock like this, right? On this knife, you can get it to, I'm trying to push it all the way down so it actually does swing well. If you can get yours to do that, this one probably needs to be cleaned. You actually can safely move your finger out of the way. It's also very easy to deploy. This guy's gonna be, you can kind of get, I mean, it's harder to get you can totally reverse. This guy's a little bit easier to do your flashy if you want to. You can see here, there's what I'm talking about. Mine will disengage and release and I can move it out of the way. Both of them are incredibly simple to manipulate with one hand, and if you want to just use two hands, then fine. I love that they've got that little hole in there. It just makes it easy, right? Ergonomics. Oh my gosh, this thing is a hand melter. If I was gonna if I needed a knife to break down a thick cardboard boxes, right, and all I had was this guy, I'm very happy that it has these types of ergonomic lines. You are locked in. You will not drop this. You can absolutely put maximum force into that cut that's right up against your finger. And you're safe there too, because it's got that little barrier. And then there's absolutely is a sharpening choil right there. Now that part might get hung up on the boxes, but if you're putting that much pressure into it, it's probably just going to smash right through it anyway. You can do that. This knife, because of its Wharncliffe blade shape, and especially if you're looking at a straight edge and not or a clean edge and not a serrated one, draw cuts, even with this, your draw cuts, you're fine. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I do with EDC. This is very similar to a folding, utility box cutter, right? A lot of people say, why wouldn't you just buy a utility box cutter then and just buy blades? Well, then you get to infinitely pay for blades forever. Sure, it's convenient to pop the blade out, right? And then just keep using them. Honestly, if you work on a construction site or you're a roofer, then yeah, that's what you should be using. Definitely. It just makes way more sense. You're not going to get down off the ladder and go sharpen your blade every single time you need to sharpen it, because especially if you work on a roof, you're going to destroy the blade in 1 hour, But for other people, right, if you sharpen your blade, let's say at the end of the week or the end of the month, right, something like this, it might make more sense versus buying a box cutter and then just paying for blades forever. Seriously, within a couple of years, you're going to pay more for the cutter and the blade. The cutter and the blades than you will, for what this knife costs. I think it's also, it's something I should point out here. This blade steel on this guy is AUS 8A, or the annealed form of AUS 8, which a lot of people are going to go, nah, this is a $27 knife. As long as it's not 420J or 3CR 13MOV, I don't really care. I honestly don't care. These are wonderfully easy to sharpen up. This guy will go months at a time. Well, not months. I mean, depending on how hard I use it, like right now, it's not sharp at all, right? I go weeks at a time and I'll need to sharpen it up. It'll take me a grand total of 20 minutes to sharpen this up on the KME, sometimes 10 minutes. It just doesn't take long at all. Most of the time you can strop it back to life. Something I appreciate in a very utility, there's nothing for the enthusiast here. This is absolutely a tool. It's nothing for the collector, right? It's easy. I appreciate, on a cheap knife, I appreciate the steel also being really easy to sharpen, right? That's what you're looking at here. A lot of people, it's just going to be about the appearance and the ratios. A lot of people are going to look at this and just be like, what is this missile duck thing? It looks so bad having 1 1/4 inches of cutting edge and having all of this handle. Hey, I get it. I mean, if you're really like, my $27 needs to go, mostly towards aesthetics. Okay. I get it. I buy knives for aesthetics too, right? This is one of the ugliest knives I've ever seen in my life, but it works. It definitely works. And I love carrying these, both this and this. They're just fantastic beater knives. You can throw them around. You can get them dirty. You can bang on them, right? It doesn't really matter. This thing was tossed all over the place when we redid our roof. And I know I've told that story a million times, but I tossed it. I mean, don't physically toss your knives to people, right? But I handed that off to a bunch of buddies and we just, hey, I need a knife real quick, and then it got thrown down on the roof and it slid down the roof, right? And whatever. It fell off the roof and hit the concrete a few times. It's fine, right? I mean, it's not a knife that's going to be damaged by use like that. You really can throw this thing around. Now, I still wouldn't take the tip and dig it into materials and pry around. I still wouldn't do that. The tip will snap in that situation on this and the larger version, right? That's just not what you want to be doing with it. But the geometry of the blade is good. It does get down to a pretty darn thin edge. You can see here the taper is pretty good. This thing's been beaten on. It's been well loved, like I said, but it'll do the trick. You've got enough cutting edge here to get done, to accomplish most, to get done. You got enough edge to get done what you gotta need to do. You're not gonna be slicing any watermelons in half, right? Some tasks do require a longer blade, which is why another argument that I make, for people who are like, I don't need a nice folding knife. I'll just use my folding utility box cutter. It seems like I'm reducing those types of arguments to a certain type of person. I'm not doing that. It's just the voice that I selected. There are plenty of situations that call for more than a 1-inch cutting edge. Lots of them. In fact, I come across them weekly as somebody who has an office job and goes to the grocery store sometimes. So a folding utility knife does not solve every single issue. And that's going to be the case with this guy. You're not going to be able to do everything with this, right? It's going to do most things pretty well. But if you need a longer cutting edge, you're going to need a different knife, which is why I think this knife makes sense as a backup knife, as a knife that you leave in your truck or your car, as long as it's legal. And a junk drawer knife, something like that. It's just a nice, convenient item to use in the moment. I appreciate that. Very well thought out. This is super comfortable up here. Very, very comfortable. I don't like that it is tip down only. I know a lot of people think that tip down is the most optimal or, in some situations, tactical way to carry a knife. I don't care about that. I just prefer tip up. It makes more sense to me when I'm pulling my knife, my preferences, right? People are going to be like, it doesn't make sense because my preferences. Don't tell me your opinion. I want to jam my opinion down your throat. That's what I'm doing right now. I want it tip up because my hand, when I reach into my pocket, is in a better position to me. It feels more natural, right? I think most of the people who are watching also carry their knives tip up. But that doesn't mean that you're wrong if you carry your knife tip down. And truthfully, with this only being mountable, it's weird that it's right hand only. It doesn't have a left-handed mounting position, which is stupid because this is an ambidextrous lock. It doesn't create that much of an inconvenience that it is tip down only. It's fine. Just pull it out of your pocket and you're good to go, right? It's fine. This doesn't need to be like, Emerson wave, ka-cha! Ready to go! Bag of pretzels opened. You're neutrated, right? It's fine. Lockup. Absolutely solid. Well, I mean, exactly what you'd expect from the Triad lock. You know, one of the strongest knives on earth, maybe surpassed only by other knives, other locking systems that were invented by Andrew Demko. The Scorpion lock, the Shark lock, right? We don't have those on a $27 knife. We've got the Triad lock, which is more than enough. It's honestly probably overkill for this, right? So solid lockup, centering. To my surprise, I mean, other than that weird edge right there, which might actually be battle damage, it is centered, right? What are we running on for washers? If it's just like mine, it's running on nylon. I don't really care. Honestly, I think the knife would continue to operate if you had a damaged washer in there, which I did for a little bit. And it'll probably continue to operate even if there are no washers in there. It'll probably just be a little bit wiggly because of how the Triad lock interacts with the tang of the blade. This is cool. If you require day-to-day that, you know, the tasks that you do with your knives, if it requires longer than a cutting edge of 1 1/4 inches, then this might not be a good idea for a dedicated knife, but I think it's an excellent backup knife for most people. It's also going to be legal for most people. If you take the pocket clip off of it and just use it as a dedicated backup knife, it is fully ambidextrous and can be manipulated by left or right-handed people, right? This is one of those knives that makes a lot of sense as, you know, it can play a little role in just about everybody's life. This is a great knife to give as a gift to a knife person or non-knife person. It's a great knife to keep on that table that's right beside your front door as you walk in, right? Your Amazon packages or whatever on the front porch, and you just need something real quick to open it up and cut, right? Maybe you'd have your dedicated knife on you, but great junk drawer knife. Great knife to use as a utility knife. You know, if you work outside or you have a job that you know requires this blade shape, or this blade shape makes a lot of what you do convenient, right? This is a supreme package opener, supreme draw cut maker, right? If you cut a lot of twine there, you can get the serrated version of it, right? There's a lot of roles that this can fit into. It is a very versatile knife. No emphasis on blade durability, but the overall durability, if you use this thing the way that it was intended, as a moment of convenience folding tool, it will probably last for decades, which is amazing because it's a $27 knife. If you can find the small one and you really want the small one, go for it. It's recommendable. It'll be going in my most recommended knives playlist and my cheap knives I like playlist. The one that is definitely available right now is the larger Tuff Lite, which is equally recommendable. In fact, I kind of like it a little bit more. I'm including it in this video so that you guys actually have an avenue. If you watch this and you're like, wow, I didn't know about that, I want to pick one up. The one you can easily find right now is the larger Tuff Lite. I think it's $28 or $29. Equally recommendable, and honestly, it fits my hand a little better and you get a little bit more cutting edge, right? I think that if you're going to EDC one of these, this makes a lot of sense. You get some more cutting edge difference between the two is pretty substantial, right? So there you go. Very recommendable knives. I'm very happy I got to look at them. Kenneth, thank you again for sending this mini Tuff Lite in for review. Really appreciate that. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it today. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.